Well, as Austin Powers would say, it's not cricket. So, obviously, when you have a level 3 Mountain King, you can pretty much one-shot Wisps and Archers with level 3 Bolt. Actually, Archers might have to have another shot at them. I'm not really sure. I've never really had a level 5 Mountain King versus, like, Archers. I don't think I've leveled up that quickly or had someone go Archers for that long of a game. One thing to note is that if you just suicide footies, they get so much expansions, experience off of it that I wouldn't really recommend suiciding footmen into a Night Elf player's base. If anything, you should kind of kill them off yourself. But yeah, so as you can see, there are currently 0 workshops going up. Which is why I love this replay, because it doesn't really rely on the whole mass towers thing, which makes this matchup so imbalanced, is the fact that, like, no matter what you do, the human player can always set up another expo with billions of towers, and then start tanking you to death, and it just kind of sucks. Which is why I don't really like playing Night Elves much, or human players much these days, but whatever. So, yeah, one thing I haven't really pointed out is that the Paladin is still level 1, even though the Mountain King's like level 5. But Moon has a significant experience advantage because he's not only almost level 6, but his Pandaren Brewmaster is almost level 4. And with the Pandaren Brewmaster, it's kind of vicious to have a level 4 Panda, because, you know, Drunken Haze level 2 is pretty brutal. So, yeah, both heroes are viciously on the verge of a level 6 hero, so that's one thing to be a little bit careful of, is that when they hit level 5, they can't hit level 6 pretty soon, so it's a good idea to play a little safe around level 6 heroes. Well, I mean, play it safe anyways, but play it a little safer. One thing I will point out is that I'm amazed at how quickly he figured out which Dark Ranger was the real Dark Ranger. But, yeah, that wasn't really what I wanted to point out. Anyways, what I really wanted to point out was that the human player will be getting a third hero, which would happen to be the Blood Mage. And the reason that this is important is not only because, you know, you have the Banish Bolt ability available to you, but also because, you know, if you banish something and focus it down with Griffin Riders, it does like 3 times the damage, and it's just like... It's amazing how much damage it does with Griffin Rider Focus Fire. Now, you will be wondering, it was pretty quick that Moon set up the Ancients of Wind, blah, blah, blah. I thought you should know he did use Reveal with the Goblin Laboratory and figure out, OMG, he's going air. Maybe I should try and counter that. So for those of you who make the comment like, oh my god, Moon hacks, he doesn't. Which is unfortunate, because it makes it harder for us to beat him legitly. But whatever. While I'm here, I'm actually going to point out that it's kind of ironic that human players have the best counter to mass towers in the whole game, and they're the ones who end up massing towers the most. I mean, Cloud is just such a good counter to mass towers. It's amazing. So, Blood Mage is out, obviously more Dragon Hawk Riders being massed. Now, a lot of people say Dragon Hawk Riders is not viable because of this and this and this, and if they have like one more Hippo Rider, you're screwed, blah blah blah. You have to know how and when to mass Hippo Riders. You can't just Dragon Hawk Riders. You can't just straight out mass them and hope for everything to be all happy and spectacular. You kind of not only have to catch them off guard with them, but you have to be really careful. Like, what he's doing is he's actually keeping it out of range of the Panda and just kind of using them to focus down Dryads and various other things, but you can't really let them get mass Dryads and hope to be able to counter it that easily, because they really don't damage Dryads. Thought you should know. Really, all that you gain with the mass Dragon Hawk Riders, I'm mixing up my words here, is the ability to kind of harass their Wisps, but the fact that the Night Elf player doesn't really rely on the Wisps kind of makes it a lot easier, or a lot harder for the human player to actually harass the Wisps that don't exist. So, Dragon Hawk Riders are a good way to harass the Night Elf player, and one thing you really have to do is you kind of have to outmass them. You can't do it without an expo. It is impossible. I'm not going to say it's practically impossible. It is impossible. Like, if you try and outmass someone, like they're going to be going Dryads or Hippo Riders or something, they're going to be able to out-damage output you, and since Dragonhawk Riders aren't really that much in terms of damage output, you really have to rely on not only the upgrades, but the animal war training upgrades, and the fact that you can micro above trees. So it's really important to know when to mass Dragonhawk Riders, and you don't just straight up mass them. You kind of have to force them into, like... Actually, here's what I'm going at. You don't just start massing Dragonhawk Riders just for shits and giggles, because Dragonhawk Riders versus Dryads is really stupid. So what you do is you get another excuse for them to start going Hippo Riders, and you get Griffins. And the reason Griffins kind of force them out of Dryads, well, it doesn't really force them out of Dryads, but Dryads are just important because, well, they have the slow poison, but Hippogriff Riders are actually kind of the direct counter to Griffins, besides Dryads, but Griffins are actually a lot easier countered by Hippogriffs, and it's so much easier of a counter as an idle player than the Mass Dryads, just because you still have mobility on your side, and you also have an anti-air unit versus an anti-ground unit, so you kind of gain the advantage off of that. So once again, more over the trees action. So generally when you start going Mass Griffin Riders, what you do is you get like 2 or 3, and then you start massing the Dragonhawks, and then hopefully if they've switched over to the Try Ancient of Wind, which is what Moon has done, then you can start massing your Dragonhawk Riders and actually making good use of them. Also, the great thing, like, if you do go Dryads against Dragonhawk Riders, yeah, it'll work for a bit, blah, 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 but the fact is they have so much more, like, mobility over you that it makes it kind of difficult to do it. So, people usually end up massing Hippogriff or Hippogriff Riders, which is actually kind of a good counter to it. Reason I say Hippogriff Riders is because, yeah, they can aerial shackle you, but they have to be in a certain range to be able to aerial shackle you, and, I mean, it doesn't have super long range, but what you can do is you can be like, oh my god, I see them coming. Sorry, OMG, I see them coming. Yes, it actually matters whether I abbreviate or not. But you go, OMG, I see them coming, dismount, archers, rape, you shackle, and there's really not much you can do movement-wise, because if you start running away, you're going to start losing your Dragonhawk Riders, because Hippogriff Rider actually move a wee bit slower than, well, not a wee bit. They move like 1 move speed notch faster than they do. So you can see Dragonhawk Riders' movement speed is fast, whereas Hippogriff are very fast. So this is kind of an awkward position to be, creep-jacked, especially because not only he's going to lose a hero, I believe, but not only because you have a whole bunch of slow going off in your units, but also because this is just like the worst camp to ever get creep-jacked at. Because if you look at the trees and the way they're set up, if you don't drag them out pretty far, you're going to get raped. Like, so hard. It's not even funny. So a good thing to take out first is always the Zeppelin, just because they don't have the ability to micro the grounded units out as much. Kind of neat play by the human player to actually get his heroes free. Unfortunately, he does lose the 1 hero, but, everybody loses stuff. The only problem with this is the Panda is almost level 6, and that's just vicious. And the Paladin's still only level 3. But the great thing about the Paladin second, which is why I like the Mountain King Paladin combo versus Night Elf, especially on this map, is that you do have the Holy Light ability to really rape the crap out of their heroes. So obviously, Avatar of Imbalance kind of wins. Also, Staff is so underused. That's just a good thing to use. Freaking phone is blinking. So, oh, it's a text message. And it's kind of naughty. Not gonna read it. Alright. No, it's not from my special someone. I don't really have one of those right now. I just have some someones on the side. Like fries and a burger. They are the fries. I do not have a burger. If you get the reference, that's cool. That's my new, yeah, that's my new analogy for that. Anyways, so yeah, the Mass Dragonhawk Rider thing going on. Actually, the one thing I just noticed, voice cracking of manliness again, is that Dryads actually have similar damage, less damage output than Dragonhawk Rider. You could totally rape Dragonhawk. Slow poison kind of makes up for that. Never mind. That thought process kind of went downhill. Yes, Dragonhawk Riders do get raped by Dryads. One good thing to mix in with Dryads also is archers. The reason